It began with a walk-in ordinary February morning in 2009. A woman named Christine Ross was walking her dog, Ruka, near the dusty outskirts of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The area was quiet and lifeless, just open desert and unfinished housing developments stretching endlessly into the horizon. Then Ruka stopped. He barked at something half buried in the dirt. Christine bent down, curious, and froze. It looked like a bone. Human. That single discovery would unravel one of the darkest mysteries in modern American crime history, a secret graveyard hiding the remains of 11 women. It was a crime scene unlike anything the state had ever seen, and the most terrifying part, no one knew who buried them there. This is the story of the West Mesa Bone Collector. When police arrived, they didn't know what they were about to uncover. At first, it was just one bone, then another, and another. Soon, investigators realized this wasn't just a single body, it was dozens of remains spread across the sands of West Mesa. As they dug deeper, forensic teams unearthed bones, jewelry, shoes, and scraps of clothing. Everything pointed to the same horrifying truth. This was a mass burial site. Someone had been hunting women for years and hiding their bodies in plain sight. The desert had kept its silence for nearly a decade, but now it was screaming. For weeks, detectives worked day and night under the brutal New Mexico sun. They sifted through the dirt, using screens and brushes, documenting every inch of evidence. By the end, they had uncovered the skeletal remains of 11 women buried side by side in shallow graves. Each skeleton represented a life lost, a story cut short. It was methodical, organized, almost ritualistic. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. As names began to surface, investigators realized something chilling. All the women had gone missing between 2001 and 2005, years before the graves were found. Most of them were from Albuquerque's East Central Avenue, a rough stretch of the city known for drugs, prostitution, and crime. It was a place where people disappeared often, where police reports gathered dust, and where missing women were forgotten. Until now, the victims had names: Cinnamon Elks, Doreen Marquez, Veronica Romero, Virginia Cloven, Monica Candelaria, Selania Edwards, the only victim under 18, 11 women in total. They were daughters, mothers, and sisters. Each one had hopes and stories that were cut short by a predator who saw them as disposable. For years, families had begged for answers, calling police, putting up missing posters, and every time they were told the same thing: she probably left town. But they hadn't. They were right there, buried beneath the sand the whole time. Detectives called in the FBI, forensic anthropologists, and ground-penetrating radar experts. They reconstructed timelines, re-examined missing persons files, and cross-referenced DNA. Slowly, a picture began to form. Between 2001 and 2005, someone had been abducting women, killing them, and returning to the same remote area to bury their remains. This wasn't random. This was planned. The killer knew the land, the routes, and the timing. It was calculated, and the fact that no one noticed for years made it even more terrifying. One suspect quickly came into focus: Lorenzo Montoya. He lived not far from the burial site. He had a history of violence, particularly against women. He frequently solicited sex workers. In 2006, just a few years before the discovery, Montoya was shot and killed by a man defending himself after Montoya tried to strangle a woman inside his trailer. When police searched his home, they found chilling evidence: maps, photographs, and routes near the burial site. Could he have been the bone collector? Some detectives believed so. The timeline matched, the behavior fit, but there was no physical evidence linking him directly to the graves, and with Montoya dead, the trail went cold. Another suspect, a man named Fred Reynolds, also drew attention. He was a photographer known to take pictures of women along Central Avenue, of whom later disappeared. But before investigators could question him, Reynolds died of natural causes. Once again, another dead end. As time passed, more theories emerged. Some believed the killer was a long-haul truck driver who picked up women along his routes and used the remote mesa as a dumping ground. Others suspected a police officer or someone involved in construction, given the location's proximity to developing land and its secluded access roads. But none of these theories led to an arrest. By 2010, the desert site had transformed from a crime scene into a memorial. Wooden crosses dotted the sand, each bearing a name. Families came every week, leaving flowers, candles, and photographs. It became sacred ground, a place of both grief and rage. For many, it was also a symbol of society as failure. How easily these women had been dismissed when they first went missing. How quickly the world forgot them until the bones demanded to be heard. Even years later, forensic teams kept revisiting the case. They analyzed tire tracks, cell phone data, and even satellite images taken years before the discovery. They tracked weather patterns, soil density, and GPS records from construction crews working nearby in the early 2000s. Every lead felt close, then slipped away. The killer had covered his tracks perfectly. It was as if he vanished into the desert itself. And yet, something about the case refuses to fade. In 2021, detectives revealed they were still working on it, using new DNA technology and digital mapping software to find overlooked evidence. The bones have been studied, cataloged, and preserved, but the story remains unfinished. The identity of the West Mesa Bone Collector is still unknown. What makes this case so haunting isn't just the mystery, it's the silence. The way 11 women disappeared over 4 years, and no one noticed the pattern. The way their stories only merged after death. The way a killer may have walked among us, blending in, watching news reports about his own crimes, smiling quietly as the world searched for a ghost. The West Mesa case is a scar on Albuquerque's history, a reminder that evil can hide in plain sight. It's a story of injustice, loss, and the desperate fight for answers. These women's names deserve to be remembered, their stories told, their killer found. Because somewhere out there, someone still knows the truth. Someone knows who buried those 11 women in the sand. And as the wind howls across the empty mesa, the desert whispers again. The sand shifts, the air grows colder, the past refuses to rest. Because beneath that sunburnt soil, the West Mesa still hides its secrets, waiting for the day someone finally uncovers them. This is Dark Case Files, and this was the West Mesa Bone Collector. Buried Secrets of Albuquerque.